until you guys answered, and I'm gonna answer as well. See what I have it in here. So please, you can ask questions through the Q&A for now. If you have any comments, if you have any technical issues, please write us and we can answer. Does everybody have the ability to answer the questions? Because I'm having a hard time. Can you guys answer?
No, the host and panelists. No.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so I'm gonna just wait 1 more minute so we have more people coming in. And then we'll start. So I see somebody write something on Q&A here. All right. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I hope you have fun during this webinar as much as I had preparing for you. Seems like most of us want to go to the beach and have vanilla ice cream once this lockdown is over. So, and I hope that will happen soon because I want to do the same thing. I just want to start this webinar by sharing a little bit about me. My name is Cintia. I am a global health professional, and I'm also a member and a local ambassador for the EIT Health Alumni Network here in Gothenburg. I want to start just sharing a little bit of our agenda, what we're going to do tonight. After my introduction, we're going to have an amazing panel of speakers for you guys. We're going to start with Malin at 5:10, and then we're going to go with Olga. Then we're going to have a little short Q&A session, but please, through this webinar, make sure that you ask your questions using the Q&A box. After our amazing first 2 speakers, we're going to have 2 more. We're going to have Aline at 5:55, and then we're going to have Marianne at 6:10. After that, we're going to have another Q&A session, following with closing remarks and a surprise giveaway that I'm very excited to share with all of you. I just want to talk a little bit about what is the EIT network and what we do and who we are. The EIT Health Alumni Network is a multidisciplinary community of innovators building the future of healthcare by alumni for alumni. And I know today many of you here are not part of our network, not just yet, but hang on to the end and you will be able to become one of us. And I really hope you will, because it's a great network to be part of it. You're going to learn a lot, but most importantly, you're going to have a lot of fun as well, and your network is going to grow exponentially. So our network brings together students, professionals, and healthcare enthusiasts who share a common vision for creating positive social impact through innovation and entrepreneurship. And I really hope you're going to be one more. I'll also share our mission. So the mission of the EIT Health is by building an active network of alumni that are dedicated to activities to improve quality of life, active aging, and healthcare across Europe. We also have a big vision. So our vision is to lead a European Association for Health, Social, and Life Sciences of professionals, entrepreneurs, innovators, and executives. We are a big group and we are growing. So after this webinar, I'm sure we're going to be even more. So for now, we have about 2,000 members. We also have around 30 representatives across all Europe. And like I mentioned before, I am one of them. I am here in Gothenburg, but we have representatives all over. One thing that our network does a lot, it's create a bunch of activities, programs, and events for all its members. For example, last year, we had more than 25 events. And then, of course, because of the situation, unfortunately, we cannot do face-to-face events for now. But, you know, we had to adapt like everybody else. And we decided to do events online like this one. So this is my first online event, so bear with me. But hopefully soon we'll be able to get more events face-to-face, and I'm looking forward to meet all of you. So it's important that I mention as well that it is a collaboration with EIT Women. For those of you that not familiar with the EIT Women Network, the EIT Women Network was created about 3 years ago by Maria Kanakov, and she's the the current president for the EIT Women. They have a mission to break stereotypes and to empower women to become entrepreneurs. But most importantly, the goal of the EIT Women is to create events like this one where women and men can come together and share their ideas and learn new skills, especially to become entrepreneurs. So if you want to become a member and learn a little bit more about the EIT women, please check their Facebook page. And they also have a brand new website, and it is women.eitalumni.eu. And I think you guys will like what you have in there. So I really recommend you check. And again, if you have any questions about either the EIT Alumni Network or the EIT Health Alumni, you can ask us during the Q&A as well. And just a bit of a digital housekeeping before we move forward. For those that are a bit late and just got here, use the chat function if you have any technical issues, if you cannot hear us, for some reason the screening is not showing much. And if you have questions, specifics for one of the speakers or for myself, you can use the Q&A specific question box. I'm also gonna have a little poll going on right now. So just so I get to know you guys a little bit. So we are 66 participants. So responding this questionnaire here, very quick, is only 3 questions. You just help us to get to know you best. Since I cannot see you, that is a good way to just have a feel for who is on the other side of my screening. And I'll just give you guys a few minutes as well to answer that. And I hope you able to answer. I'm just gonna wait another half minute or so. I see that many of you have responded already. Let's see if I can get the answers now. All righty, so let's see what we have in here. Seems like 34% of you are curious about the topic, and what I'm very happy about it. So I hopefully you're gonna learn a lot. And then we have 30% of us, there are either a startup founder or a co-founder. That's great. Also, currently, in which phase you are in with your startup. So we have 27% they're other, and we have 30% they're on ideation phase. That's pretty good. And what do you want to learn today? So we have 68% that want to have general funding tips. And I think our speakers are going to do a great job with that. And then we have 50% that want to learn how to connect with investors and also want to learn about startup obstacles. So thank you very much. And hopefully with this webinar, we'll be able to answer some of your questions. If it's not, again, ask on the Q&A and we're gonna do our best to come back to you later on. And now I'm gonna share what I'm most excited about about our live draw. So please stay with us until the end. We have about 10 books to give away, and the books you're gonna pick yourself. So we're gonna have the live draw, and all the books are related to business and entrepreneurship and startups. We're very excited that we have this opportunity. I was even thinking maybe I want to put my name on a draw as well. I don't know if that going to be considered cheating since I'm going to be here to the end, but you guys let me know what you think on the box, if I should be included on the draw or not. And that, without any further ado, I want to present our first speaker, Malin. Malin is the head of community management for Chalmers Ventures. She also an ecosystem hero of the year. She's a women's rights issues advocate. She's a publisher. Her book is Poppy Fields, and she's also a public speaker. So please welcome Malin.
Thank you. What an introduction. So I'm gonna share my screen with you guys and hope that everything works out fine here. So yeah, I was gonna start with saying a few words about myself, but Cintia did it way better than I think that I could. But as she said, I work at Chalmers Ventures, that is both an incubator and an investor, which is quite a rare combination. I'm also on the board of Women in Tech here in Gothenburg, and I run a think tank called Alterity that kind of focuses on expanding the narratives on entrepreneurship. And I'm a gender studies major to begin with, so of course the natural career path was to go into venture capital in tech. I haven't met any gender studies major yet in the industry, but I'm all for more of us joining. Yeah, and today I am going to talk a little bit about the obstacles that female founders face when it comes to funding their companies, and hopefully some tips on what we can do to change the current gender disparity we have in the VC industry. So why I wanted to talk about this is last year, actually, Chalmers Ventures, we got nominated, or we got the award for most promising female founders last year in the global competition for university-based incubators, which was very cool. But it was also realizing that we are not very good at it. And if we're the best, then how bad is the situation really? I mean, our capital, our funding goes about 33% every year to mixed teams. So most of it goes to male founders. And in Sweden, the average is 11% that goes to mixed teams and less than 1% that goes to female founders. So for us, it was almost like a wake-up call that if we're being awarded being one of the best at working with this and we suck at it, there is really, really something wrong with this industry. And the first thing I actually did when I started working here was that I'm not employed in any capacity to work with quality issues, but since it's a core belief of mine, I started checking out like what's going wrong. Why aren't we funding more mixed teams? Why aren't we funding more women? And I realized that there were really no gatekeepers in-house, but there was really no, we didn't have the same deal flow of women coming to us. And then I realized that there's a lot of gendered hurdles for women in this industry. For us specifically, it's also, okay, now I saw a question popping up. I'll answer that afterwards. There's some gendered hurdles, specifically because we invest in tech and we also invest in commercializing research, and it's only about 5 to 8% annually of patents in Europe being given to women. So it's quite narrow field to find. But that still doesn't explain, because in Sweden we have 1 out of 3 companies is being funded by women. So there are female founders. So why is it so hard? I've very educationally put it down into 3 categories. And of course, it can't be explained or confined into 3 categories. But the main things I see is bias, of course, and specifically the refusal of acknowledging that one has bias. We have plenty of studies showing that when women pitch the exact same pitch, if it's being pitched with a male voice rather than a female voice, the investors on the panel will give it a better grade. We have a recent study here in Sweden that said that female founders were being asked different questions when they were pitching for funding, even if they were pitching the same material. So there is obviously something that is inherently wrong with how we perceive female founders. And that's why I don't really subscribe to the lean in movement, because it's not as much about what us as women or female founders do. It's if we do the exact same thing, if we're being assertive, if we're leaning in and doing all these things, we're not being perceived in the same way as our male counterparts are. And that makes it really, really hard to change an industry when you are a female founder, because the problem isn't really in your lap. So this one is very important. In Sweden, we have 22% women in investment managing roles. And since we are half the population, and actually we are more, when it comes to graduating from economic school, we have more women doing that. So that is a clear disparity. And it goes back to that there's a lot of studies showing how we favor people who remind us of ourselves. So that is a huge problem. And then specifically when it comes to startups, we have adapted a very weird one-size-fits-all solution that really makes no sense in an industry that works with innovation, that works with building things that has never been built before. But when you look at most accelerator programs and when you look at the most funding structures, it's always one size fits all. And when you have a default, it's usually a male default. And that goes to show from everything, just that we started offering now for all our events to have babysitting was a huge a change, and starting to realize that, well, you can't have the same program for everyone, because everyone's life doesn't look the same, and usually an accelerator program and the funding that goes with it is based on not having any family responsibility, and doesn't really play well with being a whole human, which goes for both men and female, but then it goes to play with the other gendered expectations we have on basically being humans that tend to not favor women in that way. So actually, I want to focus this talk on tips for female founders, because I'm guessing that there's more female founders out there listening, but I also want to start with tips for investors, because I really think that I'm a firm believer of putting responsibility where it should be, and the responsibility for the disparity in how venture capital is being placed right now is not on female founders. It's actually on the investment. It's on us. It's on the VCs. So I quickly want to go over some tips for investors. The first one is also one that I usually give to all of our companies when they are trying to hire, and they always tell me that they can't find any women applicants. And the first thing to realize that your company is not a meritocracy and you are not gender blind. And people have a hard time accepting that they have biases. And actually studies show that a refusal to accept that you have bias or acknowledge that you have bias actually correlates with showing more bias. But the real issue is that when you don't acknowledge that you have bias, as we all do, you will not put in place any structures or strategies to make sure that that bias won't have a big impact on your business decision making. And there's a lot of studies showing that if you formalize your investment criteria or your hiring criteria or your promotion criteria before you actually make decisions, you tend to show less bias, because us as human, we have a tendency to justify our biased decision making post hoc. So if you have two applicants and one has more educational experience and one has more real life or work experience, they would always choose, in this study that they did at Harvard Business School, they would always choose the man, and then they would say, oh, but it's because he had the most work experience. But if they switched the CVs, they would always choose the man again and said it was because he had the more educational experience. So we tend to justify our actions post hoc. So one really, really important thing is actually formalize, write down what it is that you're going to prioritize when you do your investments or when you do your hiring beforehand. So you can't really, your gut feeling is your worst friend when it comes to bias. I'm very for setting quotas. I know that a lot of people and a lot of women also are not for setting quotas, but oh, 10 minutes already over. Okay, I'm gonna skip because you need to hire a diverse investment management team. But the important ones, the tips for the female founders. This is the most important one. And if you fix this one, you actually don't need the other two tips. Because you need to realize that you don't need everyone's money, you need the right people's money. And there are actually a lot of good VCs and a lot of other good funding options that work really well with women. But what I usually tell all founders that I meet is that you should find someone who actually you want them to own a part of your company. Because a VC relationship usually lasts longer than a marriage. Like you can be in a relationship with a VC for a long, long time. So you don't want it to be a trade where I need the money, so I have to give them equity. No, you should actually find a VC or find an angel that you actually want to have equity in your company because you want them as a part of your team. And when you find that, you won't need these two tips. So the next tip is sometimes you have to work the system, even if it's a broken one. And my first advice is to find male ambassadors when it comes to networking. It sucks that it is that way, but I have at least 3-4 older men who have really taken me under their wing when it comes to giving me my first assignments and like pushing me kind of through the door. I hate that it is that way. I hate this advice, but it's an advice that actually works, to find male ambassadors that can vouch for you and get you into those rooms that is not really open to us right now. And number 3, once you've made it, make sure to break the cycle. When I meet successful female founders, sometimes I kind of likeness it to generational trauma, that you've been through so much shit on your journey, and now you kind of feel that there's this attitude of, well, now everyone is screaming for equal rights and I had to go through it. And so my real advice is, if you do actually make it and get there, make sure that everyone that is not come as far as you on the journey doesn't have to go through the shit that you had to go through. And lastly, money isn't everything, which is a weird thing to say when you're talking about funding. But I want to finish with a little anecdote from one of our female founders who spoke to me as someone who works for a company that has ownership in her company. And she was invited to pitch for an investment at a sauna in her bikini. And she wondered if we would be upset, or if I would be upset if she didn't take that opportunity, because it would be an opportunity for her company to get money, which would make it easier for us to get our investment back. And I just told her that I will be mad at you if you go, because money, you will find another way to make it. And the people who would ask you to pitch in your bikini is not people you want to have equity in your company anyways. You do not want to have a business relationship, but that actually happens. It's not that uncommon at all. So I really wanted to end with that even though you have to work the system, it's never worth doing something that makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry for running over time.
No, that's great.
I
Because
could talk about this for like 2 hours. So
I bet. No, thank you so much for your amazing talk. And you brought up very, very important topics, because that is, unfortunately, it is the reality. So with that said, I would hold on to ask you questions during the Q&A session. And I want to present our next speaker, Olga. So Olga is a co-founder and CTO at Recovery Companion. She also a co-founder of CyberWise, an entrepreneur, a project manager, and a mentor. Please welcome Olga.
Hello, everyone. Just a minute. I will share. Okay, I will share my screen with you. And okay. Yes, thank you for the introduction, and it was a great first presentation. And now from my side, yes, I'm Olga, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I have 2 startups. And actually, my second startup came from my first startup, so it was like a startup journey, and I will talk about this. So first, I would like to show what is a startup journey. And my first startup, which is Recovery Companion, starts from hackathon. So we had only ideas. So our team, I would like also to notice that both of my startups, they are perfectly balanced. So we have male founders and female founders. So we are like 50-50. It was not like specifically made like this. I just prefer to work with people that I like. So for me, it's not really important. Is it male or female? I just like to see professionals. I like to work with people who share the same values as I do. So about startup journey. So with Recovery Companion, we start from hackathon, and we had 2 ideas, and we combined them in one. And we want this hackathon. We want special prizes. So we get this, let's say, recognition from the beginning. We were invited to other hackathons, so we had an opportunity to continue. And from the beginning, it was not sure if we will continue with this idea or not, but we saw that our idea was well accepted by community. And we are building an application for cancer patients to provide communication for them, to provide mental support. And we see that it's very valuable, so we need to continue with this. So we are trying to look for support, how we can do this, and how we can fund our work. So we start with local support, and we start with local competition. We were trying to work on how to make us visible, and we are also part of Starter Talent, which is like university projects. So we received some financial prize from there, and it was like very good and awesome. It was our first support, so it was cool. And after that, we also decided that we can continue, and we went through European support. So we were part of EIT digital journey, which is also a very good experience. At that time, we were not incorporated yet, and they provide us really good values, and they help us to grow. And also with EIT health community, we receive networks. So from my perspective, money is not just what you need, but also other stuff like network and communication, mentoring. Also, I would like to mention special grants, which like for example, we were participating in special events like dedicated for women education for women entrepreneurs, and I think it's really really cool opportunity. And I believe that being female co-founder like now is like shows you really great opportunities, because there are events dedicated especially for this, so you can participate in these events and receive benefits. I think if there are opportunities, and as a startup, or you should get them. And my second startup is about privacy and security, and it's this startup was created because we were part of startup community for quite long, and we understood that people are not people in startup life, they are not focused on privacy and security that much. So we want to change it, and we bring cybersecurity and privacy for startups in the beginning. So actually, right now we are also part of Prototron, which is a local local organization in Baltics, and currently we are fundraising. So I think it's a very good opportunity. Like for us, we are using crowdfunding, and well, that's also one way to finance your startup. Okay, I would like to share some information about startup in general, not just being female entrepreneur, but entrepreneur as like in general, because being an entrepreneur is complicated. There will be ups and downs, and you need to be prepared for this journey, and don't get some unrealistic expectations that you will build amazing product very soon and everyone will want this product, because most likely it will not happen. You will have these ups, and at some point there will be also some disappointment. So to get through this journey, you will need to find support, and family and mentors are very important for this. And I think here, like for me, being a female entrepreneur, the support is maybe more important than for men, because they like if you're talking about men, maybe they are not take those ups and downs so close to their heart. It's like for me, if something is going wrong with my startup, it's very bad for my mental health, I would say. So about other support, as I mentioned before, money is, and also Malin mentioned the same, that money is not everything. You will need knowledge, you will need connections, and you need to ask right questions to get right answer, to get right people. You can also look for different opportunities and programs. I noticed that there are many startups who are presenting or participating in this webinar, and they have idea, or they are in early stage. So I would definitely recommend you to join some programs which are which will help you to develop your idea, develop your product, and they also might provide you financial support, and support others. If you learn something, if you know something about your journey, how to overcome some challenges, you can share this knowledge with others. That would be beneficial for them, definitely. And here are some more tricks and tips. It's important to work with people who share your values. As Malin mentioned, that if someone invites you to pitch in sauna, maybe you don't want to do this. It doesn't sound like a good idea. Start locally where you have connection. Look for free money. By free, I mean that of course those money will be sent to your work. So you will you will develop your product for this money. But I mean that some programs, they do not ask for equity, and you can look for this program. It's a good opportunity if you're just in the beginning. Of course, in later stages, you can look for other opportunities as well. But for the beginners, I think that's a perfect solution. Get people to know about you, because otherwise, like, even if you have perfect product which will fit everyone, if people don't know about this, how will they find you? So get famous and take opportunities. There are a lot of programs out there, and if those programs are like special for female co-founders or not, take them and get benefits from them. And here is my contact. So feel free to follow our social network. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olga, for your talk. So now we're gonna have a little Q&A question. So I will start asking one very general question to you, since you're here already, and then we'll move over to Malin while I receive more questions from the audience. So for you, I have a question that people are asking. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges for startups, especially if they are on early stages, to face this coronavirus crisis when it comes to funding? Because we have heard that a lot of fundings have been frozen as well. So do you have any tips or any opinions? What's going on with that right now?
Okay, I can share even my personal experience, because we are also fundraising with Cyberwise. So we use crowdfunding with Fundwise and Prototron, and I think it's a good opportunity. It's definitely getting more challenging because you cannot meet people face to face right now. But what I would recommend is definitely use opportunities that are online. Since you don't have options to see face to face, so there definitely are opportunities, and I can give you examples because we are using one. So if you believe in your idea, go for it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And again, if you have any more questions for Olga, you can always ask on the Q&A, and I'll have one more. So I'll have one for Malin now. So Malin, when it comes to the statistics, right, that why is so low when it comes to women. So I have a question here. So 11% or 2% is very low. So do you have the statistics on the ratio between male and female startups?
Yeah, so I have the Swedish ones. So Sweden, actually it's lower than 2%. So last year it was 0.86% that went to female founded teams. 11% that went to mixed teams, and then 86% that went to all male teams. No, 88% that went to all male teams. And for us at Chalmers Ventures, we had 33% that went to mixed teams. So we're a little bit above the average, but still not good, because we're hoping to have 100% of mixed teams.
Yes, that is very true. And hopefully with talks like this one, we can come together and discuss more, because if we stay inside the closet in a way where gender, it is an issue, and if we don't talk about it, I don't think we're going to move anywhere. So I appreciate your answer for that too. So I have another question for Olga. So Olga, you mentioned your tips and tricks are for any entrepreneur, not merely female entrepreneurs. Did you ever feel that through your journey, you were treated differently because of your gender?
Well, I would say that I tried to get opportunities like in my team, there are like my team is balanced, so it's like 50-50, so we're a mixed team. So, and I think it's more like beneficial for us because we are in the times are changing. I think I would have faced more challenges if I was an entrepreneur 5 years ago or 10 years ago. That would be more challenging. But now I see more opportunities for women, and I think it's very cool and beneficial. And as I mentioned, we were participating in one event, me and my other female co-founder. We went to this event for mentorship for it was pitch training, and I think that was very good experience. And also I think that it depends what is the motivation. Like, for example, when I got a job interview for my previous company, there was a question if I want to have a kids in early in next like 1 year or two. I was thinking that this question is not appropriate at all, and I think I didn't say it out loud at that time, but I think my face said it for me. I was like, why exactly are you asking me? And actually, my boss, he explained it to me, because it's not that he don't want me to have kids or get married, but my job will be a lot about business trips, and if I want to plan kids, I will be focused more on local companies. So by that time I was living in Kiev. So if I will have kids, they will try to set my work in the way so I will not have this many trips. So I think it was actually not that bad question after he explained me. But like in general, if this question would be like to discriminate me, but and to take men instead of me just because I want to have kids, I think that would be inappropriate. So everything is in context.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. And I have another question here for you as well. So
Okay.
you were saying, when you are the person bringing the idea on the table for the first time without a startup experience, how can you make critics or estimations objectively? You said you get help from programs. Can you be more precise? I'll repeat
Yeah, could you repeat the question? Yes.
So when you are the person bringing the idea on the table for the first time, so and you didn't have any startup experience, how can you make some estimations objectively? Sorry, you said you get help from programs. Can you be more precise? What I'm guessing here is like, which kind of help did you get from the programs when you are the one bringing the ideas for the first time and you are at the beginning of your journey as a startup?
Okay, so as far as I understood, you need to validate your idea. I hope I understood the question correctly. So if you have your idea, don't keep it only to yourself. Share it with others. Like in our case, we were part of hackathon. Like we started from hackathon, and we developed our idea. And most likely, this is what will happen with your idea. So it will be changing, like all the time. So it's okay to pivot. But if you share your ideas with others, you will get validation. You will understand if it's useful or not. Share with others. Try to find other people who will join your team. Well, of course, you can work only like as a one person, but I think it's always beneficial to have 2 or more people. You will get more objective in this case. And well, regarding programs, my both startups are in Estonia, and they came from, let's say, university programs. And entrepreneurship is a very big part of education in Estonia. So you can try yourself as entrepreneur by being a student, which is, I think it's a great opportunity. I was, when I moved to Estonia, I was not thinking about doing any kind of entrepreneurship, but it's really amazing opportunity, and I'm super happy to be part of startup world. So it's cool. Search for local programs, local events, and if you have like only idea, I would recommend to start with hackathon. If you don't have people, you will find people to join you there, or maybe you will join other teams. Well, who knows? Stay open-minded.
I think that's a very good tip. So I have a question for Malin now. So Malin, in developing countries, usually gender transformative approaches are used. As programs specifically for girls, women often lead to expectations of women and girls to do something directed at women's girls instead of an entire group. What are your thoughts on this?
I definitely don't believe that women should be limited to having a women-centric approach on everything that they do. What I mean with the one-size-fits-all is that you can see that in just small changes in your program, you can get a different type of deal flow. So we changed our startup camp, for instance, to be on weekends and with the ability to participate online. And then we saw an increase of both women, but also older men who would apply with their startups. And I think that a lot of the accelerator programs and the incubator programs that are available now is catered to a quite old view of who is and who can be an entrepreneur. And they did actually a huge study on accelerators in the States, where they pinpointed 5 things you can change to get more women to apply. And I think that for an industry that is, we pride ourselves of always working very data driven and very research driven. We don't really do that when it comes to equality measures, which is, it's a bit weird to me when there's actually so much science backing up that small changes can actually have great results of who will apply for your funding or for your program.
Definitely. And just as a last question here for you, and if you have any tips on how not to take failures personally and keep your heads always up. So since you deal with a lot of female entrepreneurs, I'm sure GU Ventures. So what are the tips that you have for the women out there? They're, feeling a bit defeated.
I would say the best one is to surround yourself with people who will always cheer you on. Like there's a really great TED talk about the 9 people you need in your life. Like you need the peer, you need the cheerleader, you need the mentor, and all these things. And I feel very blessed in this industry that I feel like there's a big like camaraderie again between the women in the industry, because you're faced with a lot of the same challenges. So really surround yourself with people who will always remind you that sometimes when you fail, it's not because you're a failure, it's because this specific thing wasn't right. And every no doesn't tell you that you have failed. It just means that this opportunity wasn't for you. I also want to note on, because I saw that it was another question in the question form about how to answer when people tell you that you only get funded because you're a woman, because I hear that a lot, like you only got this award because you're a woman and you only get funded because you're a woman, which is also weird because all the studies show that it's actually really, really, really much more harder to get funding when you're a woman. The less than 1% here in Sweden, who is actually a very, very gender equal country, should speak for itself. But and I actually listened to a great comedian, and she got the same kind of response from other male comedians when she got her big Netflix debut, and they were like, oh, it's just because you're a minority and you're a woman. And she's like, yeah, because that historically has been the winning combination. Of course. And just to tell these people that you actually get to work twice as hard for the same things as a woman. And if you want me to send you some links to some research showing that, you can always like wear it in like a folder and like put it up in their faces, because it's definitely not easier getting funding as a woman. And if you think that it is, and still think that less than 1% of the venture capital in Sweden goes to female founders, you must have a very low opinion of women's entrepreneurial skills. So yeah, that's how I would deal with those comments. But I agree that they come a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, thank you so much, Olga and Malin. A very inspiring talk, and I hope hopefully the participants got some good information for all of you guys. I will move on and have our third speaker for the evening. So I'm gonna introduce Aline de Santa Izabel. So Aline is a bioengineer. She's a founder of YOGUT, a symbiotic kitchen, and she's also a leading expert in microbiome science and personalized nutrition. Please welcome Aline.
Hi, thank you for the invitation and for the introduction. Cintia, it's a pleasure to be here joining this conversation. It's such an important topic. So I'm Brazilian based in Sweden, and today I'm running two startups, YOGUT, which is focused on we are pioneering personalized nutrition in the Nordics, developing the next generation of functional foods with dairy alternatives, and also Symbiotic Kitchen, which is focused on food education related to gut health. So it's all about the gut. And I thought about starting sharing some insights about my personal journey, and then sharing some tips about how I have been building my companies and being a food tech entrepreneur here in Sweden. So I guess that some of the participants, people that is following, can recognize this image that the startup journey is not a linear process, and mine hasn't been like that neither. It has been a lot of turns and pivots, mistakes, and also some wins. I started back in 2016 when I had my first venture, developing my first concept with my global city, and was a lot of mistakes, a couple of them actually, which I bring, and also a lot of learnings that I could bring to my new venture. Then further on in time, in 2018, when I started Symbiotic Kitchen, that had a kind of a babe with YOGUT now in 2019. And the reason why I decided to start up was basically because I wanted to first give a career, move in my career, and also to create some more impact in our society. And I do believe that doing things that you've never done before can help you to achieve what you never achieved before. And yeah, even, I don't know what happened here. Yes. Can you see the slides? Because it's appeared for me.
Because you weren't sharing on your site.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Oh.
So we'll give you a minute, so and then you can share on your site.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Okay. Wait, no. Oh, gosh. Wait.
Or we can keep sharing on our side if you prefer.
Yes, if you can share over there, I think it will be okay to do the transitions.
Yeah, you just ask us when you wanted to change the slides.
Yes, perfect. So yes, as I was saying, that was, we should not be scared to do something new. Then we can pass to the next one. And when I decided to start up, I had a couple of questions that today I thought about sharing to the newbies in entrepreneurship based on the learnings that I have been having so far. One of them was that if I was really questioning myself, because I came from a science background. I've been working with research most of my career. And when I started up, I had this, I was questioning myself if I had what I needed to be an entrepreneur. And I believe that first and foremost, you need to really believe in what you are doing, believe in your concept, believe in your business, and then have the confidence, the perseverance, the passion, and the patience to pursue that. And if there is a right time, perhaps not always can be a good time, even in moments of crisis like the one that we are living today. So just get started, dive in, and don't be afraid to make a couple of mistakes, because you might end up doing. So that's the next step. Next question that I had, like about pivoting and starting over. The more than getting it right the first time, it's important to get started, and also to remember that the startup journey is a learning journey, to keep the right mindset, growth and open, and be learned to learn and have a lot of fun through the process. And then the next. And the next slides, please. And another thing that is very important, the one before. That is very important, not only for the success of your startup journey or in your personal success, and also for funding, is consistency. So remember that success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. You need to show constancy in your work and in your progress in building your company. So one of the tips that I will start with the tips, and based on my own experience. The next slide, please. Yes. The first tip is to don't focus first thing on VC. That was something that I learned from my first journey. That is sometimes when we focus too much on that, on getting investment, getting investors on board, you miss the opportunity of getting other resources, money from other sources, and looking into other avenues. We were able at YOGUT to get our first 150,000 euros through grants and startup programs, competitions. Some of them were highlighted here, and they have been giving to us more than equity, but also network and partners in our development. So it has been very useful. So if you are here in Scandinavia, I mean, IIT is a great network. We are very happy to share that we are joining the IIT Food Seedbed, so and possibly getting some additional funding for our development for that. So if you haven't looked into that, look into IIT Food, IIT Health. There are different segments in that. Our startup programs, Antler has been supporting our initial development, Plus Impact and Danske Bank, and so look into that. You learn more, like refine your entrepreneurial skills, get a broader network, and it can be more than money. VCs can be good to approach, but later when you are more investment ready. We are getting ready right now for raising our first round, and I think that it was good that we didn't really focus that first thing. Then the next slide. Yes, cultivate a network. Network is super important, and when you are looking into like building a network, you should be looking for more than money. Looking for connections, for new networks that you can be exploring, people, skills that can help to bring more resources into your journey. I have some friends that got their first investment through angels that they had in the network. And even though I said that you shouldn't focus on VCs first thing or in angel investors first thing, perhaps it's good to know who they are in your ecosystem. Start to having some conversations or understanding the ones that are investing in your specific area, or the ones that are investing in the stage, in early stage or later stage, to know when you are ready for approaching them, to then you know who to look for. Some challenges in networking, because this is something that I think that our male founders are better in doing, is because there is not so many women in the entrepreneurship in general. I have to say, by my experience, 90% of the investors that I have been approaching or that have been approaching me, they were men, unfortunately. And that's a problem, and you need to adapt to the situation. So I really like it when Malin was talking about having male ambassadors. Perhaps it can help to open doors and understand how to network with more and with men. And when you build this network, also bring more female founders or fellow founders into your network. Another point that I found very important in terms of a network is also the support, like create a supportive network with fellow entrepreneurs. I got to know through the startup programs that we have been joining, it has been great to meet fellow entrepreneurs in different areas. And I have a group of female entrepreneurs here in Stockholm that we network, we exchange ideas, and we brainstorm sometimes solutions, problems, we share problems and solutions, and it's great support. So that's very important. And the next and the final tip is to be yourself, to be true to yourself, be open to advice, be open to learn, be open to grow and to change, adaptable for the situations, but don't forget to be yourself and to follow your gut. Sometimes we say that if we compare female founders with male founders, that perhaps we should adopt some behaviors from males, but remember that the limits, I like the bikini example of Malin. Check yourself for self-criticism. I think that female women in general, we are more self-critical and we want things to be perfect, and men in some cases they are more risk takers and they just move, and so we should be more aware of this tendency that some of us can have. And yeah, I am a solo female founder in tech, in deep tech, food tech. And I would like to say to the other female founders out there to don't be afraid. Being a founder, I mean, being an entrepreneur is kind of challenging. Being a solo founder is even more challenging. And being a solo female founder, I have to say that it's super challenging. But if that's what you're doing, just push it forward. Be open to welcome and onboard new people into your journey. I'm open. I'm still looking for my perfect partner, but it hasn't been preventing me to push forward my venture. And I was talking recently with a fellow entrepreneur here, and he was sharing that he has been running his company for a couple of years. And for him, it was crucial to get on board this new co-founder in his company to get investment. So this co-founder was essential in his fundraising. And we were talking about that, about perhaps now it would be a good time to get someone more on board. So keep strong, keep moving your venture forward, and but be open also to welcome more people. And then the next and final, I think that's it actually. So yes, feel free to connect. Thank you for joining our webinar, and thanks again to Cintia and team for the invitation.
Well, thank you for participating and sharing a little bit your story. I think we definitely have some female founders and entrepreneurs on the audience, and they will definitely use your tips. So hang on with us. I will introduce our next speaker, and then we'll have a little Q&A session as well with some questions for you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I want to move on and introduce our next and final speaker of the evening, Marianne. So Marianne is a principal in the life science team for Wellington Partners Venture Capital since 2018. And she also a PhD research in the field of molecular imaging. And she was and she received an award from the University Hospital Aachen from Germany. I'm sure I mispronounced that, but please welcome Marianne to the webinar. I'm very happy you're here.
Thanks so much, Cintia, and well, thanks a lot, Larissa and Cintia, for inviting me to be here today and speak on this panel. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. I unfortunately don't have a headset with me. Otherwise, just ask me to repeat something if you can't understand. So I'm very happy to be here. I also think it's a very important topic. I will share some slides with you in a minute. Let me just... pull that up. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, well, I wanted to start off with telling you a little bit about myself and then also introducing Wellington partners to you so that you have a clue with who you are dealing with. Cintia gave a short summary. I'm a scientist by training. I spent 4.5 years in research before I then joined the business world. Worked then 1.5 years in a management consulting firm and joined the VC world in 2015. Worked at High-Tech Gründerfonds for 3 years. High-Tech Gründerfonds is actually Europe's largest seed stage investor, so really focused on pre-seed, seed phase. It's an institutional investor here in Germany. And then I joined Wellington Partners in 2018 as a principal. So I was asked, what is your personal experience with the entire topic female entrepreneurship? And well, in the spirit of breaking the circle, I like this expression, I invested so far in 2 companies led by female CEOs. And actually my sister is also a quite successful CEO in a startup in the energy sector. So I kind of have the VC view, but I also have insights how it feels like to be a female CEO. And if you would ask me now, do I see a difference in between female or male-led companies? I honestly have to say, not really. So I think that the personal leadership style is really, yeah, it's something personal. It's it really depends on your character, on your style. I so far did not really see pattern which you can distribute to either men or women. However, I did see, and I can also admit that it's harder for female CEOs. They have to fight harder than their male counterparts, and this is not only because of the investors. It's, I think, in general, the nature of the business world. I'm also a member of a couple of initiatives, for example, the Femtech initiative, which is a non-profit organization and a network for women in tech-related professions. So here we really try to connect ladies already in the job, but also in students in universities and schools. And I'm also a member of a couple of networks, Women in VC. So when I don't think that anybody is really familiar with Wellington Partners, so I just say a few words about our firm. So we are by now actually the largest German venture capital firm focused on life sciences. We have in total 400 million under management and are currently investing out of our 5th and recent fund, which totals up to 250 million. We usually have ticket sizes from 2 million to 20 million, and we would fund projects or products which are which already achieved proof of concept, are in a preclinical evaluation phase, and then we would, for example, finance a clinical evaluation or a market entry in when it comes to medtech products. We are active in the sectors therapeutics, medtech, diagnostics, digital health, and biotech. And we really search for disruptive and innovative technologies that address unmet medical needs all over the world. We are a German VC, so our home market is the German-speaking countries. However, we invest throughout Europe and also US, but we do have a slight focus on the German-speaking countries. Now that's our portfolio, just for you to understand where we are operating. So we do have a focus on therapeutics mainly in the biotech space, but we also look at new emerging enabling technologies, especially in the digital health field. So here we are still learning, but we also did some investment in that space. There was this big survey in the US, which well, they wanted to look if VC teams, if the diversity in VC teams mirrors also the investment scheme. So here's our team. You can see beside of me, there's one other woman. One of our 3 managing partners is a woman, Regina Hoditz. She's in the scene for over 20 years. And we actually do have the policy at Wellington Partners that every female CEO will be invited to pitch, thanks to her actually. So that was her policy. She brought it to Wellington Partners. And I think it's actually a nice start, maybe getting rid of the first hurdle that you are able to present in front of VCs. Now, I wanted to shed some light to our investment process and also our selection process, just for you to understand a bit better what is our view on that. So we are evaluating over 600 investment opportunities per year, and we do approximately 4 to 5 investments per year. So 2018, we did 4 investments, and in 2019 we did 5 investments. So we are actually really highly selective in that process, and we only have a selection rate which is below 1%. Now, if you now look at the companies we analyzed, we have less than 10% companies which are led by a female founder or a CEO. So if you do the math, the possibility or the probability for us to fund a female founder is 1 per million. So it's really, it is low and it's too low. So that was actually one of my questions I also wanted to ask to you founders. How can we increase really the number of female founders? Because I have the feeling, at least in the sectors I'm operating in, there are not so many, and there are a few, but not so many as it's really balanced in between male and female. Apart from that, also when it comes to newly founded companies, we have 25% in our deal flow. So also here there is, of course, I mean, we try to level out our portfolio so that we have both very seed stage companies, but also more mature companies. So if you are a seed stage company, also here the probability that you get financing is low. And I like the advice Aline was giving. Go for non-dilutive money first. Try to get a lot of grants before you really pitch to VCs, because it's way harder to convince VCs if you are in a very premature state. Over 90% of the deals we source proactively. So we go to conferences, we go to pitch events. So I can also only advise for everybody who has ideas and who wants to get started, and try to get in contact to the investors. They are running around everywhere. So just go ahead and make a personal contact before you send pitch decks, etc. Now, Cintia also forwarded some questions to me, and in the last remaining minutes, I wanted to answer those. One of the questions was how to negotiate with your investors or future investors, and I just can give the advice: be very well prepared and really cover all aspects of company management. you always tend to focus a lot on the topics you are good in. So as a scientist, I know if I look at a company, I would always go for the science first, because this is just what I know best. As a CEO, that doesn't work, so you have to really cover all of the different company management areas. So if you are not a finance specialist, then bring your team, bring your specialist, bring your friend or your colleague with you who can pitch your financial planning or your milestone planning to the VC. You don't have to do everything yourself, but have your team ready, and the team should really cover all of the different aspects. And I also like the advice which was also given before. Surround yourself with individuals which are not exactly like you. So if you are a junior person, I would always advise try to find maybe a bit more senior counterparts to complement you on the management team. So I do not think that we have a bias towards male founders, but I do admit that we have a bias towards experienced founders, and that is always a problem for first-time CEOs, because of course they might be very good, but if somebody has done it 2-3 times, has led ventures or has been in executive roles for a long time, you would just feel more comfortable that he or she can manage. So I would always advise try to build your team as such that you complement each other. Then present realistic and fact-based business plan. That is something I think every VC would say. Don't be too shy. You can be bold in your projections, but have always have them backed. Why would you suggest a revenue development like this? Why, or for example, why would you suggest a mode of action of a new drug like this? Have facts ready if there are questions, and that would be also my third tip when you pitch to investors. Anticipate concerns and address. If you have something which is a bit shaky in your theory or in your business plan, don't try to navigate around. Just say, okay, we know this might be a weak spot, but we have a plan to address this. This just creates much more comfort that you are aware of shortcomings or weak spots in your business plan. And then radiate leadership. We had this also mentioned before. Women tend to be quite humble. This is, I think, okay. I think you don't have to be bold and overstating everything, but you have to radiate leadership. So you have to give the feeling that you know exactly what you are doing, and that you have your team ready, that you are able to lead your team as a female founder or CEO. So that is, I think, the tips I would give to if you are invited to pitch in front of VCs. Now to the 100 billion question, how do we increase VC funding for female entrepreneurs? And it's quite obvious that there is an imbalance. I would like to focus also on increasing the number of female founders by overcoming internal, means personal or external hurdles. So I wanted to understand why not more women decide to be a founder and CEO. I can imagine it's due to the risk profile of this profession, but maybe also it might appear not to be, you can't arrange it with your family, and it demands a lot from you. All these is true, but it's true for also male founders, and I would really would like to talk every woman up. If you have an idea, just try it. It doesn't matter if it fails 1 or 2 years later, but try it if you are passionate about it. And what I also think is important, build strong female networks. I think webinars like this and seminars like this is a good start. Male people male VCs, male CEOs are very well connected. And I think this is something we can work a bit further on to really build strong networks and help each other and support each other once you are maybe on top of the food chain. I think diverse management teams and diverse board of directors should be really regarded as a quality feature of a company. And I think we are getting there. So now I have experienced in my companies a couple of discussions where they pointed out, well, we have a board of directors 99% men. So we should really change that. So once we get a new director, this should be a woman. So these discussions are already ongoing. So I think we are on the right track, but we are far from having really a balanced situation by now. So this should be really also in the VC world, this should be a quality feature. A company only consisting of men, this should be a negative point in the evaluations. And the same should be true for VC investment teams. We had this before. Also, in the VC teams, there should be at least a certain number of women. Quotas wouldn't work for VC, but you can always have the investors, the LPs, the limited investors investing in our funds. They would ask for diverse teams, and they would also see it as a quality feature. And celebrate female role models is important. I think if you see women who have succeeded and who made all the way up to the top, who had very successful fundraising, I think this should be in the press, and there should be interviews with those ladies, so that like young ladies also get ideas and see it's possible. So the two CEOs I worked with, they managed really to get a substantial financing round together with an international syndicate, and that was in the press quite big, and I think it's good. Last question before I end. I would like to hear thoughts on specific programs. There are some network programs I think you should really attend and be active in. There are also dedicated women venture funds, but only in the US. So I have to admit, I've never met a fellow investor being active in such a fund, but there are funds. And I think women's quota for non-dilutive grant money is already practiced, and this is also a way to get the ladies started in a very early company phase. So I also would support this measure. So, well, that's pretty much it. Just some loose ideas. Let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you so much, Marianne. That was really, really good. We do have questions for Aline, and we do have questions for you as well. So I start with you since you're here first. So I have my first questions that says, regarding IP, particularly to Marianne and I guess Malin as well. So you can come up and have, if you have any thoughts about that question. So in other webinars, they have highlighted the willingness of investors to engage if you have aspects of your product that can be patents. How to attract investors if you don't have your patent yet?
Well, the question is, don't you have your patent yet, or is it not patentable? These are two questions. If you don't have your patent yet, I think this is not a very negative criteria if you have a plan how to patent it. If it's not patentable, you have to have a good business plan and whatever first mover advantage to cover up for that. I can just judge in terms of therapeutics. It would be a huge problem if you don't have patent protection for your compounds. So this would be really a red flag in our due diligence. In more consumer-based business models, there could be a way to work around. But as said, if this is a weak point in your business plan, address make a plan how to navigate around this and discuss with the investors. I mean, they might have good patent lawyers to help you, etc. So just be clear about this shortcoming. Then.
Malin, do you have any comments on that question?
I have to unmute. Yes. So I think it's a bit easier for us we're not solely investing in life science. So for us, of course, having a patent is preferred always, but we usually speak about having any type of safety position. So that doesn't necessarily always have to be IP. It could be specific industry know-how or something that will make your venture hard to replicate for someone else. So whilst we're definitely looking for things that are patentable, we have invested in ventures. We have ventures now that doesn't have a patent, but they have convinced us in other ways that they will either have a very strong first mover advantage, or they will they have other aspects that makes it hard for other competitors to do the same thing, or at least do the same thing as they do faster and better.
Yes, well, that's a very good advice, because I know a lot of people get into trouble because of IP, and it's a hard territory to navigate. So yeah, thanks for advice for sure. And then I have another question for Marianne. So Marianne, what are the chances of female solo founders to be funded? How to make yourself fundable if you have already gone far in product development without a co-founder? So that will be a question for you and for Aline, for both of you. So I'll repeat it. What are the chances of female founders to be funded on that side, you as a VC and Aline as pitching as a female founder, and how to make yourself fundable if you have already gone far in product development without a co-founder?
Maybe I can say a few words about this. So the chances, as I mentioned, for us, it's below 1% that he or she will be funded. If you ask about management teams, you can be a sole female founder, but I would doubt that you can manage everything yourself going forward. Also when it comes to a market entry phase, or to marketing phase. So honestly speaking, if no matter if it's a guy or a girl, if somebody would pitch in front of me saying, I'm a CEO of the company, not needing any management team right and left from me because I can handle everything myself, I would doubt it, and I would really have big trust issues that this is true. So I think it's good to be a female CEO, but surround yourself with people and a management team that can complement you in the different aspects. As I said, if you're a scientist, I think you can't be that strong on the financing side, on the marketing side, on the business side. If you are vice versa, more a marketing person, get somebody who is strong in tech. So it's not enough to be mediocre in one of the different areas. You have to be top notch in all of them. And I doubt that you can do this alone. So I don't think you need a co-CEO, but maybe a CTO, a CFO, or whatever. But get yourself a management team that is strong and can sell the product you have.
Thank you. And I think that will go perfectly moving to Aline on this question, being a solo founder by now. So we have, I guess you can complement that question, but also within the same topic, I have another question that says, as a solo founder, how does you manage the different roles and responsibilities? So that ties up with what Marianne just said. So please.
And I agree with what Marianne was saying, that it's important to surround and build a strong management team. I started by getting great advisors on board and getting the help and the resource of helpers, interns, consultants, people that has been joining partially the journey. But yes, raising funds as a solo founder, it's almost like a mission impossible. But let's see how we would manage that in the future. And yeah, as the second question about how to get things done when you're a solo founder, you might need to stretch your skills and do a lot, things that you need to learn how to do. I mean, I have been learning a lot through my journey. But it's also important to get additional help from people in your network, fellow entrepreneurs. Sometimes I've been getting a lot of help from friends on doing things like website and such things. But yeah, so both like developing your skill set, but also getting more people on board and onboarding more people in the company long term, especially in the management team.
Thank you. And then I have another question for you that is within the same topic. So do you have any specific advice for solo female founders about how to answer questions from investors related to the lack of co-founders?
Yes, I mean, generally the investors are very negative about solo founders. And when I get such a question, I try to focus on what I have been achieving by being a solo founders, everything that I have been building, the vision, and also on what I could possibly do, getting their investment, including onboarding more people, more high quality people into the team. So I try to kind of move into that, focus on the achievement instead of taking that question as something negative in my side, on my side.
Yeah, no, that's a good point as well. And seems like I see as a trend among all speakers talking about the importance of networking. And I think it's something that is super valuable, and I wasn't very good of networking myself. I'm still learning, and as I hear more and more, doesn't matter which environment you are in, seems like networking, it is the key. And like Marianne mentioned, men usually they have better networking systems, and like we need to be better on that for sure. So I think it's something that we all could come up maybe with something after the talk, so we can talk a little more about that. And then for Marianne, I have a last question here. So you mentioned that only 25% of companies at Wellington funded were newly funded companies or had no prior institutional financing. So to attract VC attention, it is an advantage not to be in the early stage in a startup?
Yes and no. To share the VC perspective, we build a portfolio of companies, and we also try to balance out our risk profile. So if we would always try to have 50-50 or maybe a bit more of the later stage companies, and we fund early stage companies. So Wellington Partners is actually a VC who also accomplished company building. So we go in quite early, but there need to be the appropriate data set, or let's say the technology needs to have a certain maturity if we do that. You can't say it's an advantage per se, but you have to have a good development plan to convince us that with a certain financing round, we can achieve milestones which are value inflection points. So if you say, I have, for example, it's just the sector I'm dealing most with, you have a therapeutics, a compound, you tested it preclinically, and with, let's say, 50 million, you can achieve a clinical proof of concept. This would be a value proposition we could go for. Or if you are in an earlier stage, you have a platform, for example, and you could achieve with 10 million euros, you could achieve 2 or 3 IND filings in the programs. That would be also a value inflection point we could work with. So it's not so important in which company phase you are, but you need to have a good plan and a good estimation. How much money do you need to achieve a milestone which really reflects a value inflection? So this could be different things. So it's not a per se, I would say it's not per se a disadvantage, but it's also like we see internal reasons why we should go maybe in one time for a more early stage company, and in the other time we would say, well, we have invested in 5 early stage companies in the last 1.5 years. We are now searching for a more mature company at the moment. This could be the case, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess I only have time for one more comment, and Molly wants to comment on this question as well. So please do.
I'll be quick.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to what Marianne said, that there are also VCs that want to work with very early stage. So we're a VC, but sometimes we work with projects that are not just, they're not companies yet. So we're from very, 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 very early stage, and sometimes even help them with the incorporation process, and then can follow up into Series A funding. So there are also VCs that work with very, very early stage. So it's all about finding not just any money, but finding the money that suits you in your company and where you are at right now. So being very early stage doesn't mean you can't get funding, but it's not a lot of VCs that work that early.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I guess we're going towards the end here. Thank you for the speakers. Please stay with us until the end, so maybe we can get our book on the live draw as well. And one of the things that is very important that we do when we have face-to-face events through the EIT Health Alumni Network, it is the connection. Unfortunately, we cannot connect with each other face-to-face, but please make sure that you have each other's contact here, our panel of speakers, and when it comes to the attendees as well, get connected with the panelists and with myself. And I think that's how we can start this networking too. So I'm gonna share my screening here with you guys. Let's see. I just want to have final remarks here. Can you see my screening? You guys can see my screen, I guess. I just want to thank you, my team, because I would not be able to do this by myself. I had the idea for this seminar, and I had amazing women working with me, so I just want to acknowledge them public. So thank you very much, Kushbu. Thank you very much, Larissa. Thank you very much, Noor, for helping me putting this webinar together. But also, I cannot go further without thanking the invisible force behind us, and that was Timo and Robin. So thank you very much, because yes, this was focused on female, but I think it's very important that we have male working with us, that we cannot move forward on this topic without men. So very, very important that we have them with us as well. So thank you very much for this amazing team to have worked with me. And moving forward, if you, oh, sorry, yes. So if you are not a EIT alumni yet, now is the time to become one. You can use your phone. If you just point your phone towards this Q&A bar, it's going to take you straight up to our EIT Health Alumni Network form. So make sure that you fill that up. And Robin will be the one checking those forms, and maybe 2-3 days you have an answer, and hopefully will become part of our network. Please do that. I really hope that many of you will become part of our big community. And of course, if you are already a EIT Health alumni, if you have any ideas for events and webinars just like this, please get in contact with us. We are open and we need more people to come together. So if you have any questions how to put a webinar together, you can always contact me. And if you have ideas, send to this email. We are really hoping to have more webinars this year. And now I hope that we can get our drawing coming. So Noor, do we have our live machine? See if we can get that going right now. See if I can have her or Robin, any. So there you go. So we're gonna have a wheel. Nora's sharing her screening here. So let's see who is gonna be the lucky winners for now. So let's see who is gonna be the first one. All right, so Irene, congratulations. You have you receive an email from us pretty soon, and you can pick a book of your choice. So we have a list with about 15 to 20 books. So let's see who will be the next one. I definitely have not had a chance to put my name in, but hopefully I'll be able to get a book as well. So the next one is Sophia. Congratulations. We'll get an email from us in a bit as well, and you can pick the book of your choice. Let's see what else we have next. So sorry about, so we have Anastasia. Yes, hopefully I'm not mispronounced your name too bad. So congratulations. You receive a mail from us as well. And if you have any ideas for, remember, I just want to emphasize that if you are, so we have Laura Barcelo as the next winner. Congratulations. So if you have any ideas, please make sure that you bring those ideas forward. The EIT Health Alumni Network, they are very welcoming for ideas. And since we are all in lockdown still, so I think it's a great time to have some webinars as well. So Patricia, congratulations. You got a book too. And this is number, I lost count. Which number? I think this is winner number 5 or 4. Let's see how many more we have. So number 5, Larissa, thank you. So we have Johanna. So number 6, congratulations. You get a book as well. And this is the first time that we're doing a live drawing here. So if you have suggestions for other tools, it's welcome too. So we have Izabel. Congratulations. That's very cool. Number 7. Then we have a few more to go. And if you have any more questions as well, so please put them on the Q&A. Anali Guzman, congratulations. Yes, I have somebody asking if I can send a link of the wheel. Yes, we can. So we have Hager. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Congratulations as well. So Yolanda, congratulations, you got a book too. Thanks for being with us until the end. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm gonna share my screen here a little bit again. Just to finish things up, we would be very nice if you guys please could send your feedback. We really hope that we're going to have a future, that we're going to create a I don't know how she funds a series. This was the first one, so we need your feedback for that. Make sure that we'll answer a survey that you're going to be receiving shortly after this webinar. And again, thank you very much for being here. We really hope that will join us again for the next seminars. And again, and if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please send an email to alumni@eithelp.eu. You have a space there for questions, and check out the Women EIT website as well. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you being here and spend this time. I know everybody is busy doing stuff, but this was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.